A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television, your one-stop shop for happenings in the aviation industry. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. Aviation, probably more than any other mode of transportation, is greatly affected by weather. From thunderstorms and lightnings, every phase of flight has the potential to be impacted by weather. Departing and arriving aircraft are slowed by air traffic control when cloud ceilings or visibilities are reduced. The impact of this natural phenomenon on flights is our focus. Plus, a 19-year-old Belgian student prepares to travel the world on a light aircraft. Our background report is next. Air travel is heavily regulated, and while it's true that airlines sometimes may not be on top of their game, extreme weather is the most frequent culprit of flight diversions, delays and cancellations, all this happening as part of the aviation game.
The weather has a very strong impact, on planes, like that. So if the weather is not good, definitely, if a pilot has to keep, circumventing, the airspace, just to make sure that, he has a clear, vision before landing, I think, safety is the most important thing. So if he has to, keep, merry-go-rounding, in the airspace until he has a clear, view. As long as, the passengers, are safe.
Just yesterday when I was coming to the airport, I received a mail from airline that my flight has been cancelled, and there is no flight. There was no flight for me to Abuja. So I had to just stay back in Lagos and book another flight for me to go to Abuja this morning. I had to reschedule my program, and I had to add another money to book for another flight, and it results in delay, loss of time, and also it's somehow expensive because I booked earlier before the flight was cancelled.
Weather can significantly affect aircraft operations. Low cloud, fog and rain may impede visibility at or around an airport, while thunderstorms and lightning can cause serious disruption to flight schedules. Airline also explained that delays and diversions occur during sudden weather changes when the flight is already airborne, because weather could change suddenly without notice. A major example is the low-level wind shear, which is known as very devastating to flights and could occur suddenly within few minutes.
This is a phenomenon whereby the speed of wind and direction changes abruptly, but it is more dangerous for aviation when it occurs at low level. Why? The simple reason is during approach and landing and during takeoff, that is when we have the most demand on the aircraft performance. And if at approach you are coming into land, you are at very low speed, you have the engines really working hard to keep the speed that you have selected. All of a sudden there is a change of wind direction or wind speed. It will affect the performance of the aircraft, and it might cause it to sink, and then it can actually, if not detected very quickly, it can affect the performance that the aircraft might not reach the runway.
Aircraft are unable to take off or land during a storm and will often be rerouted. Thunderstorms and lightning strikes near airports may also stop ground operations until they pass. Although bad weather, if not well managed, could lead to accidents, but so far pilots in Nigeria say the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has been effective in delivering accurate weather reports. Just recently, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority cautioned all pilots and critical flight parties over severe thunderstorms and other hazardous weather which hampers flight operations now that the rainy season has set in. With this, airlines say they stick to the standard of operation on issues relating to weather and safety.
Delay, cancellations will always occur in aviation, not in Nigeria, globally, because weather will set in, aircrafts can go tech, and there will be delays, there will be cancellation. Now, how you handle the delays and how you handle the passengers and how you communicate to the passengers is another thing. So it is encouraged for airlines to delay because of weather, because you don't want to arrive at a destination or take off from a destination where there is bad weather, and you enter into a situation where you jeopardize the lives of your passengers. We aviators, we like to make sure that the flights are done as smooth as possible and as safe as we can.
Aviation, most probably more than any other mode of transportation, is greatly affected by weather, with every phase of flight having the potential to be impacted. For that reason, commercial aviation in Nigeria must continually deal with these adverse types of weather regularly to ensure safe flight operations. Our guest says the weather pattern at this time is most intense in the northern part of Nigeria, and pilots would do well to always abide by the reports provided by the weather agency. There's more from Mr. Taiwo Ashaniyan, who is the General Manager Aero at the Nigerian Meteorological Agency.
July transiting to August is a peak period of activities of weather. Mainly, most of these activities are more concentrated at the upper north. As ITD is moving either northward or southward, you move along with some weather parameters. And convective activity also contains a lot of weather elements, such as heavy rainfall, thunderstorm, wind shear, microbursts. Fly going to the north, well, at this period, what we advise is that they should always make sure they collect flight documentation from NIMET, submit themselves for briefing, and also adhere to the information given to them. With this submission and information given to them, they will be able to avoid an incident. At a different flight level, we have different activities. At this level, for a flight to move, in the folder given to a pilot, at different level, this has been issued. The focus has been issued in time of winds at different levels. So at different level, it can change. Maybe having a heavy rain at the lower level, once you've moved, maybe also expect something like lightning. That low lightning may not show up at the lower level, but as you go up, you may experience it. But based on the folder given to you, all these have been spitted out on it. Once the pilot study it, the pilot will be able to know the level at which it moves.
From the interview to our feature, as aircraft can now be controlled using an enhanced reality view from a state-of-the-art digital control tower in the United Kingdom. At London City Airport, the air traffic controllers have gone. Perched above the terminal building, the old control tower with its panoramic windows is empty of controllers. Monitors, a few pens and some hand sanitizers are all that remains. City became the world's first major international airport to switch to a remote digital tower earlier this year and went public less than 2 weeks ago. The airport, nestled beside former dockyards a few miles east of London's Canary Wharf financial district, is London's smallest. Before the pandemic, it had 5 million passengers a year, mostly traveling on business to European destinations like Frankfurt and Amsterdam. City planes now take off and land guided by air traffic controllers who are based 90 miles away. They direct the airport using information from a newly built taller control tower stacked with 16 high-definition cameras and multiple sensors. The switch to remote air traffic control has raised a few eyebrows, but London City's chief operating officer says so far it has worked seamlessly.
So the existing air traffic control tower was over 30 years old and required some significant investment to upgrade it. We also have implemented some new aircraft stands and we needed to change the location of the air traffic control tower. So we've moved location, and this is our new digital air traffic control tower. We cut over to that on the 23rd of January this year and began operating first flight from the 24th. And what that does is deliver digital air traffic control capability, and it's the first of its kind anywhere in the world at this scale.
Metal spikes guard the top of the 50-meter tower to protect the cameras from birds, and each camera has a self-cleaning mechanism that stops insects and debris from blurring images. Those images then travel multiple separate high-speed fiber links to the remote center in Swanwick, Hampshire, where London City's air traffic controllers are relocated. The live sound of the airport is piped into the new control center so that controllers still hear the plane's engines roaring into life and the reverse thrust of touchdown. And the 14 screens in the Swanwick control center are not at risk from a buffering internet or lost connection.
We're used to dealing with data and presenting that data to our controllers so that they can keep the aircraft separate, safely apart whilst they travel. So it's much the same here for the tower. We're using the data, we're presenting the pictures. We can see it, you can see it behind me. It's very much like sitting in the tower and seeing the aircraft operating. So it's a digital reproduction of the live picture. What you're seeing today is the live picture at London City. Then enhanced with additional data like aircraft call sign, maybe the route that it's going to, maybe the stand that it's going to. It allows us to add all of that to the data. So are there risks? Well, we think we've got all the risks well covered. So cybersecurity is well covered, for example. In terms of the job for the controller, it's very much like doing it in the same way as they would in the air traffic control tower.
For City Airport, the new remote tower, which costs just less than £20 million to design and build, is not about saving money. With the new technology, City's current number of controllers will be able to handle more plane movements once flying recovers after the pandemic. City will also be able to handle 45 plane movements per hour, up from 40 in 2019.
So we think that the digital tower is going to revolutionise how we can deliver airport services. So it allows us to reproduce what we do today, it allows us to further enhance that job, and potentially it allows us to group together different airports in one place and present different ways of efficiently delivering the service to the airport customer. So it really is the tip of the iceberg of improvement to what we can do for the airport ATC.
So fundamentally, the job hasn't changed. It's still about the controller's eyes finding the aircraft and monitoring it visually. The difference is we're using screens instead of windows.
The airport's plan for a remote tower dates to 2016, when it realized that in order to go ahead with a £500 million expansion plan to fit in extra bigger planes, it would need to significantly invest in the old control tower. It decided instead to build a new one, given the efficiency benefits offered by a new remote technology developed by Swedish company Saab. Heathrow, Britain's busiest airport, is also considering remote control towers in its future plans. A 19-year-old Belgian student is about to take a world challenge. That's after the break. Do join us again.
On August 11, 19-year-old Belgian Zara Rutherford will set out for her 32,000-mile journey in a bespoke Shack ultra-light plane, the world's fastest microlight. Once complete, Rutherford will be the youngest person to fly a microlight around the world and the youngest woman to fly solo around the world. The current world record is being held by Shasta Wise, who completed the journey aged 30. The youngest person to fly solo around the world is 18-year-old Travis Ludlow.
I wanted to, fly around the world, hopefully have other girls see me and think I'd love to fly one day too. There is a difference in aviation between men and women. There's a lot less women in aviation. About of commercial pilots, 5% are women, which is, ridiculously small. So, yeah, my goal is to bring the record closer, and then hopefully inspire other girls to try and beat my record, and then start competing with the boys.
Rutherford's parents, Beatrice De Smith and Sam Rutherford, are both pilots themselves, although her mother had mixed feelings when her daughter announced her gap year plans.
When she first told me about it, my heart skipped a beat. It took me a bit of time to digest, and now I'm so proud and fully behind her.
The teenager will be funding the trip herself with the help of sponsors, and she hopes to complete the journey in around 2 to 3 months. Now to the recent International Air Show MAX in the Moscow region of Russia. The objective of the MAX Air Show is to demonstrate leading technologies and to open up the Russian aerospace industry to international market. As the helicopter air display team of the Indian Air Force Sarang staged an aerobatic performance. It is the first visit of Sarang, which translates as peacock in English to Russia. The Sarang team uses Indian-made advanced light helicopters, DH-RAV, with a peacock-painted livery. Also at the air show, Russia unveiled a prototype of a new Sukhoi 5th generation fighter jet with an eye on export markets. The warplane, given the project name Checkmate, is likely to be touted as a rival to the US F-35 stealth fighter. The warplane is expected to take the skies in 2023, with the first batch due to be produced in 2026. Russia plans to produce 300 of the aircraft over 15 years once serial production begins. Before now, the country had successfully produced prototypes of new weapon systems, but has sometimes struggled to move to serial production.
Finally, on the home stretch, a report on how the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Command keeps at the anti-drug war.
This is what the departure hall of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport looks like when it's busy. It's also the area where a lot of drug seizures are made by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Statistics obtained from the agency's airport command puts its total annual drug seizure for the year 2019 at 377 kilograms, 801 grams. In 2020, the total drug seizure from the same command was 1,697 kilograms, 503 grams. The first 6 months of 2021 has witnessed a leap to 2,351 kilograms, 439 grams. These seizures comprise different drugs including cocaine, heroin, cannabis sativa, meth, cat, and other psychotropic substances. The controller of the NDLEA MMIA Command, Amadou Garba, says a large part of this is due to the change and body language of the new chairman, who has also taken concrete steps to address issues of stagnation, officers' welfare and commendation.
There's a new sheriff in town, and his disposition is that of I want results, nothing more than that. And that body language, I think, is enough for officers to know that there's nothing other than just for you to work and get results. Aside from that, he asks us to give names of officers that have done something spectacular. So that means now there's a rewards by way of commendation and promotion to officers. These are push factors that I think is pushing officers to do over and above what ordinarily they would do.
The commander also gives us the summary of arrests and convictions from his command. In 2019, the command recorded 36 convictions at the Federal High Court. 44 convictions were recorded in 2020, but 2021 has seen a reduction to 16 convictions so far, owing largely to the judicial workers' strike, which shut down the courts for about 3 months. So far, 83 suspects have been arrested this year in 71 drug seizures. Channels Television also sought to know what happens to these drugs after convictions have been secured.
If the person has been convicted, then a length of time is given again to give the suspect or the accused time to see whether he can appeal. Yes. If he does not appeal, after that, a process is still initiated to see how they can destroy the exhibit, mostly by burning. So the agency will approach the Federal High Court to ask them to give them permission to burn this particular seized drugs, after which, if permission is sought and got, then the process will start again. They will move it. On the day of burning of those exhibits, mostly even the judge of the Federal High Court is invited, and other very important personalities will be invited, and other stakeholders, like you said, will come. And they are given this option to select from all the variety of drugs that have been displayed for destruction. Then they will choose, they will do integrity test on the drugs to make sure that they are not just burning salt or anything.
2 weeks ago, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, UNODC, in its 2021 World Drug Report, warned that by 2030, Nigeria may be grappling with 20 million drug users, a situation which may further deepen the public health and security challenge of the country. The expectation is that this renewed drive to clamp down on drug traffickers and other perpetrators will help avert that disaster.
Aviation This Week winds down here. See you next time, God willing. I'm Bukola Joe Uketumbi.